League 0 Round 7, chaos at Carlos Pace, where speed meets spontaneity and strategy takes a backseat. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Autódromo José Carlos Pace, where today's race was less about strategy and more about sheer willpower, and perhaps a touch of madness. If you thought previous rounds were unpredictable, this one resembled a high-speed game of musical chairs, but with more overtakes and significantly fewer rules. As the sun peaked over the São Paulo skyline, the drivers lined up on the grid, engines humming with anticipatory growls. The front rows were a mosaic of talent, ambition, and let's be honest, a few misplaced hopes. But lurking mid-pack was none other than Adam Mercurial Merchant, positioned in P10 and poised like a cheetah ready to pounce. Lap 1, the Merchant of Speed. The lights went out, and Adam unleashed a start so ferocious it probably left scorch marks on the tarmac. In the blink of an eye, he darted past Arturo Mayorga for P10. Before Arturo could even say, "What's happening?" Adam was already sizing up Nick Peterson and thought, why not? By turn 3, Nick was left admiring the rear wing of Adam's car as he zipped into P8. But Adam wasn't done treating the rest of the field like stationary objects. Shaji, the Wi-Fi wizard Zuhair, was the next to concede a position. Perhaps Shaji's connection lagged just long enough for Adam to slip by into P7. Rumour has it that Shaji muttered something about needing to upgrade his broadband package. Gabriel Hopp was up next. Adam, showing no signs of mercy, sailed past into P5. At this rate, you half expected him to overtake himself. Meanwhile, Elliot Corte, who had been enjoying his morning drive in P5, suddenly found a blue blur streaking past. Yes, Adam had claimed P5 and apparently decided that P4 looked even better. Enter Antonio Bianchi, a man known for his sharp racing skills and even sharper incident reports. Antonio felt a gust as Adam breezed by for P4, possibly leaving Antonio pondering whether overtaking that swiftly should be subject to a penalty. Sector shenanigans. While Adam was orchestrating his symphony of speed, others were having a more experimental approach to racing lines, particularly in Sector 1.
I'm sorry, I thought I
Gareth McAllister seemed to have a magnetic attraction to trouble, finding it not once, not twice, but 3 times on the opening lap. Perhaps he was auditioning for a new role as a track inspector, up close and personal. Cameron Dance, typically as graceful as his name suggests, had a bit of a two-step in Sector 2, running into trouble multiple times. Maybe he misread the track map and thought it was a figure skating routine. Unfortunately, the judges weren't impressed. Aj Brenner had his fair share of adventures as well. After an early mishap, he embarked on a roller coaster ride through the positions, overtaking Xavier Senard for P14 and later tangoing with Delmas Leo for P13. AJ's race was shaping up to be the motorsport equivalent of snakes and ladders. Mid-race mayhem. As the laps ticked by, the pit lane became a revolving door. On lap 3, Antonio ducked into the pits, possibly to file an early complaint or perhaps to double-check if Adam's car was in fact legal. He rejoined in P12, with work to do and a list of drivers to catch. Lap 14 brought us a delightful trio battling for P5, Gabriel Hopp, Antonio and Shaji. Positions swapped faster than conspiracy theories on a social media feed. At one point, Shaji emerged ahead, perhaps having momentarily boosted his Wi-Fi signal for that extra edge. Nick Peterson, after an earlier pit stop, found himself in P5, embroiled in battles of his own. James S. Turnbull, not to be outdone, overtook Nick for P3 on lap 15. James was driving like a man possessed, or perhaps just mildly irritated, which, frankly, can have the same effect on the track. But drama awaited. Antonio ran into trouble in Sector 1. Again, maybe he was distracted, drafting a mental draft of yet another incident report. This opened the door for others to capitalize, with Delmas Leo and Eric Geary slipping past. Antonio might have been keeping the stewards busy, but his race was unraveling faster than a cheap sweater. The final act. By lap 20, the wear and tear, or perhaps sheer exhaustion, began to show. Shaji encountered issues in Sector 1, a rare misstep for the usually steady driver. Reports from the paddock suggest he was seen gesticulating wildly, possibly at his router. Could it be that his earlier concerns about network stability were coming home to roost? As the pit strategies played out, Adam maintained his iron grip on P1. He pitted on lap 24 and rejoined, still leading the pack. It's almost as if the laws of physics apply differently to him. Or perhaps he's found a way to bend space-time during pit stops. Elliot Corti, having recovered from Adam's early overtake, solidified his position in P2. Elliot drove a masterful race, avoiding the chaos that seemed to engulf others. Behind him, Shaji mounted a comeback to secure P3, Wi-Fi issues be darned. Nick Peterson crossed the line in P4, a solid effort considering the turbulent seas of midfield battles. Aji Brenner, after his tumultuous journey, clawed his way back to an impressive P5. Perhaps he should share notes with Gareth on how to recover from early setbacks. Speaking of Gareth, it's worth noting that he eventually found his way back on track, both literally and metaphorically. After his multiple excursions into Sector 1's less travelled paths, he finished the race, albeit outside the top 10. A valiant effort, and we're sure he's got some fascinating stories about the track's lesser-known features. Post-race reflections. As the drivers removed their helmets and the adrenaline subsided, the paddock buzzed with conversations. Antonio was reportedly seen with a stack of paperwork, no doubt preparing for a busy evening of stewarding duties. Some say he's pushing for mandatory map reading lessons before the next race. Cameron Dance took to social media, perhaps starting a poll on whether pirouettes should be included in future races. The consensus? Probably not, but points for creativity. Shaji, ever the multitasker, posted a photo of his podium finish with the caption, "Maybe it's time to upgrade to fiber optic." His fans responded with a mix of congratulations and internet service provider recommendations. Adam, the undisputed star of the day, was seen modestly accepting accolades. When asked about his secret, he shrugged and said, "I just kept it clean." Clean? He made overtaking half the grid look like a leisurely Sunday drive. Final thoughts. Round 7 at Carlos Pace was a roller coaster of emotions, overtakes, and occasional off-track excursions. The drivers showcased the best, and at times, the most perplexing aspects of racing. From Adam's masterclass in climbing the ranks to the midfield melees that kept us on the edge of our seats, it was a race that reminded us why we love motorsport, even when it defies logic. As we look ahead to the next round, one can only hope that the drivers have sorted their technical issues, both on and off the track. Perhaps Antonio will find peace, Cameron will stick to the racing line, and Shaji will finally get that internet upgrade he's been dreaming of. Until then, keep your engines revving and your Wi-Fi strong. After all, in League Zero, anything can happen, and it usually does.